to our morning meeting. We are here with Dante, the American Crow. He's going to be hanging out with us today while we clean our bird feeder. So we have a dirty bird feeder here. It's actually mine from my house. And we have a couple of steps that we're just going to walk you guys through on how to clean your bird feeder, why we recommend cleaning your bird feeder, and what you guys can do to make sure that it stays clean and healthy for your birds, for your backyard birds. So we are going to quickly go through those steps with Dante here. If you have any questions, please feel free to ask them. Kristen is holding the camera and can let me know what your questions. Please let us know if you're here, if you're tuning in, where you're from, and we'll give you a shout out. So we're going to get started with our bird feeder. So the reasons that we recommend cleaning your bird feeder as often as you can, sometimes if you have a really frequented bird feeder, this might mean every time you refill it. So we recommend cleaning these for multiple reasons. Not only is what you're putting into the bird feeder fatty, usually seeds, and it can congeal and kind of get really gross and rancid, but also because you're having all of these birds flock to a feeder, they might be spreading illnesses between each other if it's not properly cleaned. So just like we, wipe down the points of contact in our house, we use hand sanitizer, we use wipes when we have them, we're going to be doing the same thing with our bird feeder to prevent the spread of illnesses. Mainly what we see here at the center are birds coming to us with a conjunctivitis infection. That's known as Finch Eye. Doesn't just happen to finches, but it is common in finches or backyard bird feeder birds. So what it basically is an infection that they pick up from the bird feeder because other birds that are infected have been visiting and eating from it. So the best way that we can prevent that is just by cleaning things up. And if you have a really high traffic bird feeder, that might mean that you need to do it every time you refill your feeder. It might turn into a once a week process, but it really is helpful to keep the birds healthy and safe. If you have a less frequented feeder, you might not need to do it so often. If you see any signs of poop or food that's been, congealed or trapped in the feeder, that's a good sign that you need to clean up your feeder. You can also clean up below your feeder if you're concerned about all of that, but it's a good idea to move your feeder around if you are able to prevent the pileup of things underneath as well. So right here we have two different buckets. Some recommendations say to just do one of these options. You certainly can if you're in a pinch, but we like to do both here to serve two different purposes. So we first have a bucket of soapy warm water that this bird feeder has actually been soaking in for overnight, but you don't necessarily have to do it that long. You can do it for maybe half an hour. It just helps to loosen up the gunk that's on the bird feeder. Soap is really good at breaking down fats and breaking down any oils. So if you have sunflower seeds or millet or anything oily like that in your bird feeder, it's a good idea to use soap to help break down that matter. Soap is also really good at breaking down biological matter, so any poop or anything like that that's on the bird feeder could definitely benefit from a good soap in warm soapy water. And then you're going to want to scrub it. So we have a scrub brush here, and the only thing that's tricky sometimes with bird feeders is opening them up to scrub them. We just found out how to open mine, and it required a flathead screwdriver. Some that are round have a screw-off base, but most of them you are able to access from the top and the bottom in some way or another, and that is for cleaning purposes. So figure out how yours works, but know that if it's round, it might have a screw-off base. Mine just kind of pried off with a flathead screwdriver, but the mechanism for opening it should be pretty simple. So you're going to want to scrub with warm soapy water, and then rinse it. So we have a hose we'll rinse that off with. The reason you want to rinse it before the next step is because the soap can actually deactivate the bleach that we're going to be using next. So the next bucket we have is a bucket of a dilute bleach solution. You really only need to do like a 1:10 ratio of bleach, no more than that. And this is so dilute that it shouldn't ruin any clothes, it shouldn't be toxic or anything like that. So you're going to want to let it sit in that bleach, soak in that bleach for 10 minutes, up as long as you want to, but 10 minutes is a good and long enough time. This is, for example, how we do dishes here at the Center for Wildlife. This is our dishes process in a nutshell. To break down any biological matter, we use soap, and then we use a slightly more concentrated bleach solution for dishes to break down any pathogens. So you're going to soak it in the dilute bleach solution for 10 minutes is plenty of time, but you can let it go longer than that if you walk away or have other things going on. And then you're going to rinse it again, and it's important to rinse with warm water for that second step, because the bleach is not broken down typically by cold water, and you don't necessarily want any birds getting any bleach in them. But the soap from the first step needs to be rinsed off, because it will deactivate the bleach in the second step. And this is why the two steps need to happen together. If you put a dirty bird feeder into a bucket of bleach without scrubbing, without removing biological material, that will actually deactivate the bleach and won't let it do its job to actually sanitize the surface of the bird feeder. So we are going to do that now. Dante's going to help us. Dante is our American Crow ambassador. He's been with us for 3 years now. He's a very good boy, and he loves to tell us that he's a good boy. He came to us after a member of the public found him as a baby and tried to keep him as a pet. Crows are really, really social animals. They form big groups, big flocks of other birds, and they really need to understand how that social group works in order to survive in the wild. They hunt cooperatively, they scavenge cooperatively, they'll help feed other members of the flock, and they rely on each other a lot for safety. Wildlife, we're his new flock, but he is very sweet. He loves to interact and play with us. Crows are very intelligent birds. They have the intelligence of about a 7-year-old child, so they're really, really bright. They love to play, they love to solve puzzles, they use tools, they are very, very interactive birds. He has a friend to keep him company, Violet, our turkey vulture, in their enclosure over there. So he definitely gets plenty of attention, and we love to hang out with this guy. But he loves his attention. He definitely likes to ham it up. He'll let us all know that he wants us to hang out with him if we're out here and he's in his enclosure. He'll talk to us. He'll tell us all he's a good boy. They are mimics, so they can mimic our voices or other sounds that they hear in the wild. And Dante loves to mimic our voices. It's quite eerie, but he does say good boy and woo and hi and things like that. So he's a good boy. He's very sweet.
Let's just say good morning to everyone.
Good morning,
we have Joanne and Yvette from New Hampshire. Good morning. Good morning, Zoe. Good morning, Chuck from Rhode Island. Good morning, Ryan. We miss you. Good morning, Elena and Brendan. Good morning, Elaine. Good morning, Katie Levings.
Hello, Katie.
Brendan, age 10. This is Dante.
Hello,
Bertram, you can hear him talking though in the background, quite loud.
Yep. Bertram is our raven, also very attractive. The center of attention right now.
Sorry about the audio, Elaine. I'm not really sure what's going on with that.
We are farther away than usual.
We're out in our pavilion today, so
Right.
that could be why.
Alright, I'm going to clean while Brewster, if you have any questions, guys, please feel free to ask and I can answer them. So I'm going to scrub our bird feeder here, and it's really important to just be as thorough as you possibly can and pay attention to where birds might be sitting, so perches, and try to get as much gunk off as you can. A lot of the seeds and things from inside the feeder will leave residue on the feeder, so being as thorough as you can with that is really good. If you have any sort of a spray nozzle attachment to a hose or to a faucet, that would work really, really well for spraying off dust and dirt and things like that. This one is tricky a little bit, and a lot of bird feeders are kind of intricate contraptions because they have all these chutes and ladders and different systems for dispensing food, so they can be pretty tricky to clean. And you definitely want to get at the feeder from all possible angles if you can. So I can't really get my brush to this feeder very far from the bottom because of all the different chutes that are in here, so I'm definitely going to want to go in through the top as well. And you're going to want to scrub all of the perches like this, any dirt or anything like that. You're going to want to, as much as you can, and then we'll give it a good spray down too. And this isn't the sanitizing step, this is the cleaning step. So there's a difference between cleaning and sanitizing. Cleaning is removing debris, removing biological matter, so dirt, things like that. And then sanitizing is very different. Sanitizing is killing of bacteria and pathogens, and that's what the bleach is going to do. So the soap and the scrubbing are the cleaning step, and the sanitizing step is the bleach, and that's when we're going to let it soak. So I'm just going to reach into this bucket. We just figured out how to kind of take this off. There are just two little notches on each side. So you're going to want to figure out how yours works, and definitely scrub the base. A lot of birds will perch on there and get any sort of debris off of that.
He is very handsome. You're right, Suzanne.
Are you helping?
So helpful.
Are you helping?
Brendan asks what he likes to cache the most.
So he likes to cache things that he's not necessarily going to eat right away. He will cache his mouse from the morning pretty frequently. If he isn't going to eat it right that second, he's going to go cache it someplace. He has little nooks. Usually they're up high. Can't get as high up as he can. She is inflated, and he is, so he'll move his goodies up to the top of his enclosure to prevent her from being able to steal his food.
And Sue from Wyndham.
Hello.
Dante, our American Crow. Hey, handsome.
Yeah. Attachment might be a good idea because you can spray off things versus getting a brush all the way down in there. This is working okay.
Cool.
Just trying to get any visible dirt.
So Sue just joined in, and if you could just recap what we already went through.
So we are cleaning a bird feeder. We're going over how to clean a bird feeder because it is a really important part of having a bird feeder. You can't just put a bird feeder out and fill it when it gets empty. It really needs to be cleaned, especially if it's a high traffic feeder. All those birds congregating at a feeder can spread diseases, and cleaning it is an important part of having it and maintaining it. So it's great to offer your birds treats to support them, especially in the winter when they have a hard time finding food, but it's important to clean them. A lot of birds we see coming in can catch something called Finch Eye, which is just conjunctivitis for birds, but it's an infection they pick up from other birds at the bird feeder, either directly from another bird, from being in contact with another bird, or just from touching the bird feeder where another infected bird has been. So it's kind of like cleansing the points of contact in your home, like doorknobs or light switches, things like that. If you pick up something from that, it's best to, if you touch it a lot, it's best to clean it often. So we're all familiar with this now, but this is just kind of the bird version. So we have a bucket of soapy water here to help break down any physical matter, biological matter, poop, fats from the seeds that are left over, dirt, things like that. So this is our cleaning stage, getting off any physical material. And then we have a bucket of dilute bleach here that we're going to soak this in for a while to sanitize. So those two things are different and separate, and they often require two different solutions. So scrubbing and removing biological matter, removing dirt is going to help to make the sanitizing more effective, because bleach can't really act on the surface of this bird feeder if there's fat covering it or if there's biological matter like poop covering it. So we're scrubbing and cleaning here. We're going to go rinse it off with some water to make sure that all the soap is off, because the soap will also not allow the bleach to work. It'll deactivate it. So we're going to rinse it off with the hose real quick, and then we're going to soak it in this bleach. This step is really easy. You literally can soak it for as long as you need to. I usually will have it soaking in a bucket for 10 minutes to half an hour, and then you can go and do something else. And then especially with these tall bird feeders, you might just have to flip it over, get the other side, but it's really simple. You don't really have to do much more during that stage. So I'm going to go rinse off these pieces with our hose over here. Kristen, do you mind talking more about Dante?
Yeah.
And then we'll be back. It still looks
Cool.
Still looks pretty soapy.
Yes.
All right.
You're welcome, Kitty. This is definitely something we see in the clinic, which is why cleaning our bird feeders is really important to us, because we see the direct impact of when we don't do it. Jen asked, aside from peanuts, what can she give crows? She has 5 that hang out. So these guys are scavengers. They will pretty much eat anything. So Dante will eat fruits, veggies, eggs, dog food, cat food, peanuts, seeds. They are scavengers, so they will eat dead meat. Occasionally will hunt, but you can see he doesn't have that strong beak or those strong talons that a hawk or an owl or other raptors have. So he can take his own prey, but it's gonna have to be kind of easy for him. What's she doing over there? It's like, what are you doing, Mom? Right? Yeah. So they'll eat pretty much anything, though, that you can give them.
I think I got more water on me than I
Right, Dante? Here, you want some more mealworms? Keep you occupied for a few minutes. There you go.
Hi, buddy.
Mealworms are his favorite.
Because they're alive.
Yeah. And they're easy for him to get.
So we're just going to put this in our bleach bucket now. I just rinsed it off. You just want to rinse it until you don't see any more suds. That means you've gotten most of the water, and then you just let it sit in bleach. Obviously, it's not all the way in, so we are going to, after 10 minutes, flip it over to get that top section also sanitized, but that's really it. There's not too much. And then after this, you're going to want to rinse it with warm water. So bleach doesn't tend to break down unless the water is pretty warm. So that's the other thing, is the water that you use for the bleach does need to be cold. If you use warm water and bleach, it'll actually break the bleach molecule down, and it won't do its job. So you don't want it to clean. You don't want to have it in warm water to clean, but then in order to rinse it off, you do need to use warm water. So it's cheaper than bleach on our enclosures, on anything that we use here outdoors, because we are on a water 10 minutes, and then we'll flip it over and get the top of it. The birds probably aren't sitting on this top section as much, but it's still a good idea to get the whole thing and to really let the bleach soak in there. And then I'll take it home and fill it up and let the birds enjoy it again. This is my personal bird feeder. My partner, Jay, was telling me, like, you need to clean the bird feeder, and it just happened to be right now. So it was perfect opportunity. I was like, I'm going to do that at work. So it worked out pretty well. But it is sometimes tricky. The bird feeders can have a lot of component parts. Figuring out what kind of a mechanism yours has is a good idea, because some of them have, like this one has like a springy top to keep squirrels from being able to get into it. Whether or not that works is anybody's guess, but just, disassembling and reassembling your bird feeder is something to get familiar with doing, and this is often when like a simpler bird feeder is going to be the better choice for cleaning. So I know there are a lot of bird feeders out there that are really big and complicated, have large cages around them, and might be really tricky to clean. So when you're choosing a bird feeder that you're going to buy, looking at how you would clean it is an important thing to consider. Not just whether or not squirrels are going to get into it, because often the more complicated they get, the harder they are to clean. So.
You're welcome, Jen. John mealworms are his absolute favorite treat.
Yeah, we focus on Dante. I know you guys are definitely more interested in our ambassadors.
Yeah.
It's added value.
Yeah.
The added value of a cleaning demonstration.
Yeah.
Hi.
Bertram's in our ed hall right behind me, so he can hear us talking.
Yeah.
He hasn't had breakfast yet, so he's a little
So
antsy.
angry.
Good morning, Naomi from Rhode Island.
Good morning, everyone.
Kim wants to know what the ratio of bleach to water was.
1 to 10. If you're so in our clinic, in our medical clinic, this is actually the same process we use in our medical clinic for dishes that we give to patients. So animals that might come in with pathogens, we do use a higher concentration of bleach in that. I think it's like 1 to 8 or 1 to 6. I don't really know what it is in the clinic, but you can increase that dilution, but the more you increase it, the more likely you are to cause damage to the bird feeder, to your clothes, and it's not really necessary. So for the purposes of this, just a 1 to 10 ratio is fine. And then the other thing that you can do to kind of boost the cleaning of your bird feeder, and what we'll do after this, is just leave it out in the sun. So that's something we do a lot here to try to minimize the cleaners that we have to use, is let things get bleached by the sun as much as possible. So the sun's UV rays do a lot to break down pathogens, do a lot to clean, and it's just another great way to make sure that you're cleaning something else. It has to dry somewhere anyway before you can refill it, so you might as well let the sun dry it and get those UV bacteria killing powers anyway. We do that with all the water buckets in the clinic. We don't want to use bleach on any of the things that the ambassadors might be like drinking out of, so we use soapy warm water and rinse it out, and then we let it sit in the sun and disinfect that way. The other thing is that a lot of bacteria tend to not be able to survive in a dry environment, so if you let it completely dry for a while, then that should also help to kill bacteria.
Yeah, handsome.
If anyone has any other questions about cleaning feeders, please let me know. It is definitely something we recommend. A lot of folks, especially birders, get really weird about bird feeders. They don't like bird feeders because they can spread illnesses. But it's a great way to observe nature, to observe wildlife, and we are all about making sure people stay connected with their wildlife. So it's a really great thing to do. I know my grandmother, we have bird feeders all over my dad's backyard. There are orioles there, there are hummingbirds there. Those feeders are actually even more important to frequently clean because they are going to have sugars and jellies on them. We don't really recommend using jellies on like oriole feeders or anything like that, because they can stick to birds' feathers and make it hard for them to fly. We have to give birds baths all the time. And then we also, we recommend, if you have water, if you have bird baths available, making sure those stay clean. Those can grow algae. If they're in the sun, that's easier. That makes it easier because they will dry out and bleach out, and letting them do that is a good idea. But bird baths do also need to be cleaned frequently. You'll notice in the traffic that you see, basically, like a bird's not going to want to come and bathe at a dirty bird bath. So it will help you to actually see more wildlife to keep your things clean. So bird baths, water is a really great thing to provide for birds, especially in the winter here. You can get bird bath heaters to bid, but all of these things do just need to be cleaned. Speaking of things that we clean often,
You just make a lot of mess, that's all.
What's all this stuff? Is that dog food? You want some?
She gave me mealworms,
No,
so I choose that.
Why would I eat that? I'm full on mealworms. You're so funny, Dante.
Good boy, handsome.
Crows are really fascinating birds. If you've ever...
Hi guys.
Salad poop on you.
Something happened.
So yeah, if they
Hello.
if they have a puzzle to solve, they can solve fairly complex puzzles of up to like 8 steps, I think. They're really, really intelligent, so it's amazing. Hello, Naomi. Hello. Hi, everybody. Hi, guys. Yeah, Jen, the thing about cold water and bleach, a lot of people don't know this, that, you know, you think warm, soapy water, so then you should add, you know, bleach to warm water, but it actually breaks the bleach molecule down and makes it less effective. There are all sorts of things that go into all of this stuff that are really interesting. Hi, bud. Hello. That's not a mealworm. So we give him a bunch of different things. He has a platter here with mice on it, with dog food, with fruits, and with eggs. They, in the wild, are very frequent nest raiders, so they will, you know, eat eggs that birds have laid. They'll eat nestlings. They'll eat small birds. So they are actually better hunters than people tend to give them credit for. People think that they're just scavengers and they can't really kill anything, but they really can. Is that a bug? Yeah. Look at that. What's that bug? You want to eat him? Yeah. Yeah. You're such a good boy. So much all for joining us. If you have any other questions, please let us know. We'd be happy to answer them. As always, there is a donation button down below, and we greatly appreciate all of your donations here. We hope that you guys learned something about cleaning your bird feeders and about our crows. You say bye? Bye, buddy. Okay, we're gonna go feed Bertram because he's dying. He says, I'm so hungry. Thank you guys. Have a great rest of your day and week, and we will see you later. Bye.